Hi, I'm Alistair Shipley. Driven by the beliefs that everyone has something special to offer, I created Not So Average, the podcast that proves that you don't need to be in the top 1% to be truly extraordinary. Each episode spotlights everyday people from your community, the very individuals you might pass on the street. These relatable stories reveal that whether you're a jack of all trades or a niche specialist, we all have unique experiences and valuable lessons to share. Imagine if we all took a moment to realize we're all not so average. Let's get after it. Today's guest is a man who's built many businesses, but even more impressively, he's also built a life. Danijel Slisko is a serial entrepreneur who's founded over 6 companies and projects across industries from manufacturing to tech to media. But what stood out most when I met him at a local Fuck Up Nights event wasn't the business wins. It was the way he talked about his family, his failures, and what matters when the lights are off and no one's watching. Danijel is the kind of guy who can host 100 of his closest friends one weekend and ride solo on his Harley the next. He's a storyteller, a builder, a father, a husband, and someone who genuinely cares about doing life well. In this episode, we talk about what success looks like after 25 plus years of building, what it takes to walk away from a business, and why legacy isn't about your LinkedIn profile. It's about the people who remember how you made them feel. Be sure to stick around till the end. This will be an episode that will cover absolutely everything. Let's get after it. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for the intros. That was a good one.
Yeah, I tell every guest this. It's literally the most awkward part, but it's my favorite part. It's kind of where like all of my research comes together, and then kind of give you a little praise for a couple seconds there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It was good.
So your parents were both self-employed. What was your relationship with work, money, and entrepreneurship growing up?
I didn't know any better. So I was like technically I've never really had a job. I've only been employed at a 7-Eleven through high school for a month, and everything else was just...
Did you get fired or walk away?
Oh, good question. No, I kind of gave up. It wasn't quite my thing. You know, I was just too young. I was like between high school. But yeah, my dad taught me how to transact, how to contract. So everything was like a project for me. And then my mom was the same way. She was always like transacting. And so it was just, I didn't know any better. So it was just the way I was brought up.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Was this kind of dinner table discussions, or was this something that you might have maybe taken a more active approach and gone to your parents' work and then kind of seeing how they did it, or did they openly invite you to these kind of discussions?
No, it was just a way of life. We immigrated here in the 70s from ex-Yugoslavia, Croatian, our heritage, and then coming here was an opportunity, and my parents they recognized the opportunity and they went for it. And most of my family did, like my uncles and a lot of cousins. Like we're a huge entrepreneurial family, so it's just a way of life for us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. So after reading kind of your personal website, you mentioned that you started your first business at 20. What gave you that belief, or maybe the fearlessness to take that leap so young?
I got to give my dad the credit. Like my dad was in construction, and he basically taught me how to make money. And it was just like shortly after I was 16. It was the summer between schools. And this is a cool story. But we basically went and did a residential project, and I helped him, and he had me right beside him the whole time, and he's interacting with the homeowner, and he made a deal, and then we scheduled it, and we came back a couple weeks later, and then I was like useless, like no more than a laborer, but he treated me like every step of the way. He wanted me to know this. And so we went in there, we did the work, spent a couple of days, like literally a weekend, and cleaned up, and then went to get paid. And he brought me with, and so the lady paid him in cash, and he turned it to me and he counted half of it, and he gave me half the job. And then, at 16, I was like, I forgot how much money it was, but it was like, it was beyond what you could, like any 16-year-old is going to make. So that stuck with me. I was like, wow, that was so easy. And then when I got to the age of 20, that was embedded in my head, right? So another unique thing my dad did for me was he gave me signing authority on his business account at similar time, right? So that was another interesting story. I walked in, and I'll never forget that moment either, because I walked in, and he's telling the bank manager or her account manager to give me full signing authority on his bank account. And there's quite a bit of money in there, and I'm sitting beside him at the desk, and the account manager's on the other side of the desk, and he's like, "Mr. Slisko, I can't do this. Like, your son could, like," they were talking like I wasn't even in the room, but he's like, "I can't let you do this. Your son can walk in here and take every penny, and we can't stop him." And all my dad said was, "Well, why would he do that? He's my son." Those were like powerful words. And then, I was still in high school at the time, I think. I remember back in, it was a manual checkbook that he had, and I used to come home from work, and he'd make me pay the bills.
So you had to do the balancing of the checkbook and all that stuff.
Right. So I would actually balance the books and pay, and then I would fill out the check, and I would show my dad. He goes, "Okay, go ahead and sign that one." So I signed the check. But he was like, he did that for, I don't know, a year or so. And then it was like, so it was embedded in me really at a young age. So when I was 20, that was when I started working. It was like, it wasn't gonna be long before I started something. And again, my dad was an eccentric. Both my parents were, so it was okay for me to go do it on my own. So I don't know, I was raised really uniquely. Looking back, it was very unique. At the time, it was just like normal, right? Like, so it was kind of cool.
Having your dad teach you, I'm going to call it financial literacy at such a young age, is that something that you've actively taken an approach on with your boys?
Yeah, I feel good about the way my kids grew up. I always let them deal with things. For example, my youngest wanted a turtle, so we went and bought him a turtle. I didn't say a word to anyone the whole time. He was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, and I made him talk and ask, and he knew everything about this turtle that he wanted. And the guy that was helping us was so annoyed, but I just sat there like complete blank face. I wouldn't even acknowledge the people, and I essentially let him do it, and I just paid at the end. So it was those kind of little things I did, or I'd always like ask for a discount, and I'd say ask for a discount, and then we'd go, and then you can't go to the Gap. It's frowned upon to actually ask for a discount at a Gap. But I'm like, can I have a discount? And they shut me down. No, we can't, sir. But then I do it enough times, and somebody actually gives me a discount. So I kind of like, so those are the little lessons I try to do, and just kind of get my kids to interact and be social. And I was always worried the way the world was going, and kids were so shy, and other family members were not as open, and I was a shy kid too, so it was something I didn't want my children to go through. So
you never know until you ask. I love that. There was I had a similar situation of just constantly asking, and then maybe sometimes somebody would give me what I was looking for. I was trying to impress my mentor, the guy that I followed around the globe when I was at the robotics company. It was literally our first trip together. And we were flying to San Francisco on like probably 2 hours notice. We were going to go see some VCs. And I told him, I bet you I can get upgraded seats. And he's like, there's not a chance. Like, the flight's nearly fully booked. And so I said, yeah, I'll get it. So I went and made the ask, and they upgraded me. And I was super excited. So I come back with my boarding passes, like, look at this. I got upgraded. So he had to quickly run to the bathroom, and I'm laughing about this still to this day. And so he's like, go board the plane. I'll meet you on. And I walk onto the plane. I get a call. He's like, you bumped my seat. I got him kicked out of his own seat. So I took his spot, but I asked. And then eventually they jostled it around. And I remember that was the beginning of our relationship that went on for 4 years. And I asked, but the repercussions was I bumped my new boss. So that was a good time.
That's funny.
So, was there a moment in your early 20s when you thought, this is working, I'm actually building something real here?
No. It was, no, it was just survival mode. It was just like, I was just working. And yeah, there was some peak moments that you got excited, but it was a struggle. You know, I did it at a young age, and not like in my 20s, I was doing things that most early 20-year-olds weren't doing. So you didn't feel, I always felt like I was against the grain, right? So, but I did have supporters. I did have, when people, there were certain people that would support me and encourage me. But there were also people that thought I had no business doing what I was doing, right? So, and I felt that a lot, right? So,
how did you overcome that?
I've learned this, let's call them haters. They're not haters, but let's just call them haters. For every 10 haters, one positive supporter, just the power of that positivity is just overshines, and you just learn to ignore it. And I just learned not to care what people thought. And then you attract what you are. So when you're doing something meaningful and you work hard and people see that, and then those are the people that step forward and keep encouraging you, right? The same. So that's what I kind of surrounded myself with. And it was a lot of trial and error too at those days, right? You know, you didn't really know if you're doing it right or wrong, and you're just doing it, right? It's just taking the steps.
And do you remember kind of your first customer that became a cheerleader?
Oh yeah. We're friends today.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's 15 years my senior, and I don't know what he saw in me. His name was Rob McKibben. Shout out to Rob. But yeah, he was like my personal cheerleader. So he was a contractor, and he was an engineer. So he built buildings, like massive buildings. And in my early days, I got involved with the Catholic School Board, and they had a really vicious, strict way of doing business. Like, they knew what they wanted, and then they didn't want you needed to deliver exactly what they wanted. And even when you did, they still made, they wouldn't praise you. So you were always feeling under the pressure. So I met Rob through that experience, and then Rob was one of their preferred engineers and contractors, right? So Rob kind of took me under his wing. He told me, I'll teach you how to do this. And I never understood why back in those days. I was so young, and he saw something in me. So he did. He was a friend of mine, kind of mentored me, gave me a lot of lessons. He wasn't scared to tell me too. It was like he'd advise me, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, he was one of my early cheerleaders.
So how has your perception of success changed over the years?
Good question. Yeah, it's funny because I was fairly ambitious. I was, always kind of get pushing the limits and going and trying to grow as much as I can. So success, I always thought everyone looked at success the same way I did. And I don't know, probably halfway through my career, I stopped preaching. I stopped I stopped encouraging people to do what I was doing, because I realized that I was just talking to a wall or talking to people that weren't as ambitious, and then really what it was is that their perception of success was different than mine, right? So what they wanted out of life, they might have already had success. So then, shortly after when I realized that, I came across a guy named John Spence. I guess his title is business thought leader. I think I got that right. But he's out of Florida, and when I met that guy, he actually has a document that helps you process. I think he calls it strategy for success. So all it is it's helping you define what success is for you. And then that was like a Bible for me.
Is that available? Is that out there?
Yeah, it's out there. It's John Spence, Strategy for Success. And that document was the most powerful document I have ever laid hands on, because it just went through everything step by step. And then at the end, it helped you define what success is to you, right? So I used to hand that out to everyone. I got John's permission, and I would everyone that was in my circle, And most everyone I gave it to didn't do anything with it. Jeez. But it was a powerful workbook.
I'm gonna make the effort. I'm gonna track that down and put it in the show notes, because I think that's something that everybody should really take a look at. And that's kind of the whole premise of the podcast when I started it, was highlighting that success looks different for different people.
John's the only one that actually articulated it perfectly, in my opinion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we first met at Fuck Up Nights.
Yeah.
Where you shared a business story that didn't go as planned. What's one of your flops that you enjoy looking back on now?
There's a lot. Like that story I shared that night was one of my most painful. That was the only time I ever wanted to quit, like really wanted to quit. And that wasn't in my nature. I just learned not to quit, but that was the closest I ever came to quitting. There's just so many things that went wrong on one project. And
do you think it was better for your character that you didn't quit, or do you wish that you still did?
I think for my reputation, especially at the time, like everybody involved knew the situation I was in, and they all felt it, and just one thing led to another. But at the end of that fuck up, I did earn people's respect, and then it's just what I did with a flop or with something that we screwed up on, right? Mm-hmm. And it was just like we were just naive and we had no business there. And I always look at it like my university education, right? Like, so all of my mistakes is like all the flops were like lessons. And then you just made sure it never happened again. So you knew where not to go. And then you would watch out for other people your colleagues and your partners and your staff. You just made sure that they made mistakes, but not the ones not those catastrophic ones that I've done, right? Or I was a part of. Those are the ones I try to watch out for. Yeah.
Is there any that you now look back on and you're like, I'm glad I went through that?
Yeah, I'm glad. Well, there's a lot, man. There's like, like you always like you always
6 companies. Obviously, there's going to be a lot.
Yeah, like they were like, to me, like they were all just projects, and I was, you would just try. And you'd hear of, like one of the things I realized is ideas are abundant. They're everywhere, but the people that take action. So you have to try. You have to see where it goes. Is this going to go anywhere? Or what do I need to learn to make something actually go and happen? So like so it was like it was a thing for me. I was like, I wasn't afraid to try. It was like, and then I almost like, actually a friend of mine told me over lunch a couple months ago, it was a gift that you can discover the dots, and I can connect them all. So then that was all it is. You're just trying to figure out how to make something work and trying to connect all the dots. And once you figure it out, all you have to do is take the action, connect them all, right? So, and that's all I've been trying to do my whole career. So I've had, a lot of challenges. Specifically, I don't know. I have so many I can share, but
that's fair.
Yeah, but
you had kind of just briefly mentioned that it was the closest that you'd ever been to quitting was this example that you were sharing on Fuck Up Nights. But you've obviously built over 6 companies and multiple projects for all of that. When do you know that it is time to walk away from, say, even a business or a partner or a plan?
That's easy. That's just when it doesn't go anywhere. You're spinning wheels. You're taking all your energy and you're putting this energy towards something, and it's just not making you the revenue, or you don't have people buying into it, or no one's transacting with you. Like it's too difficult. You're pushing it too much. So if you can't, if there's no need for that, you might have thought it was a good idea, or you might have thought going into partnership with someone was great, and then you realize it's just not. Like the partnership ain't going anywhere. The project ain't going anywhere. You can't get customers. And you've pivoted a few times to try to make it work, and then eventually you just gotta take your losses and then cut loose and move on to a new idea, right?
Move on. Have you done many of your business ventures with friends or family members, or have they been kind of just people that you met and then valued their trust and expertise and went and started something with them?
Yeah. I think everyone does. Everybody works with family, friends eventually, especially at the beginning. Yeah, I did, and I don't recommend it all the time.
Okay.
but it's hard not to, right? It's like they're the closest people in your family or your friends and family. I call them my top 100. Technically, it's like 200, but yeah, you want to see good for them. You want to see them succeed. You have the strong understanding of one another. You don't judge one another, right? That's hard to develop with strangers, right? So it's so easy and natural just to say, let's do this together, but it's very risky too, right? So it gets, if you're not at the same level, or if one's pushing the other, or yeah, it's difficult, right? Or you mix the personal time with the business time, or it's always business all the time. It's like that can get a little bit, right? Or just like in my case, it's just like there's a level of success that you want, and then you're just driving it, and then sometimes the others just don't want the same, right? It's like it goes down to that whole perception of what success looks like, right?
Yeah. So you have to be very clear on that before you even kind of dive in. What's one thing you wish you had done differently, but also recognize you had to learn the hard way?
I don't know. I've learned to not have any regrets. So it's
That's
just,
amazing.
it's just like I'm good with everything. It's like I'm at peace with.
Have you always been that way?
No, but like resentment and anger and all these feelings that you have, it sticks in your head and stops you from living in the moment. And and I'm not perfect. I have my moments, and things, something will trigger me and I think about a bad moment, but I go out of my way to like forgive and just forget and just move on. Like I don't want to have regrets. Just keep doing what I'm doing, and then look back and some things work, some things didn't. Relationships sometimes come and go, but just respect them for they're on their own journey. They're trying to survive just as much as you too, right? So
is this something that you came to with all that downtime that you had? Well, you had mentioned in your personal site that you really appreciate your alone time. It's a point for you to kind of reflect and self-assess. Is this one of those kind of realizations that you've had through that, or has it been kind of a gradual development?
I was a shy kid, so I was okay being alone too, right? Sometimes, and like you come home. Yeah, it doesn't always have to be a party, but and when you're busy and you're active and there's always something going on, and sometimes you just need to be alone on a motorcycle, cruising across the highway, or hanging out with a bunch of friends and not talking all day.
What are you riding these days?
Harleys. So I like I got a Harley Davidson. So I like it. It's very therapeutic. And let's kind of like being alone, and just lets you kind of think things through too, right?
Yeah. There's nothing like being on a bike. That's something that my dad taught me, because we grew up on motorcycles. We're a B&W household. But I will say that I learned on a Harley Davidson Sportster. I rode it for 30 minutes and then sold it. I just needed something different. So I grew up with the back of just old B&Ws, but there's something about the open highway, and you can't really do anything else. You can't be on your phone. You can't.
No.
You're hyper alert to everything else.
Yeah.
So you kind of get into this state of just
enjoyment. You're disconnected from everything and everyone when you're on that motorcycle. For me anyway. So you can ride a whole day or like 4 hours, whatever it is. It's like you are completely disconnected. You're not.
Oh,
yeah. So it feels good. It's a good way to distress, I guess.
Yeah. You're incredibly open online, and from kind of our conversations that we've had, it seems that way in person as well. What motivates you to be so transparent about your wins and, I guess, some of your successes?
Yeah, no, you know what? And my losses too. Like I'm pretty open. Good question, but there was a point where I think most people, like let's take LinkedIn for example. Majority of the people don't comment anything. They don't do anything.
They don't create anything.
No, they're not visible. And I was like that once. I was concerned what people thought of me, especially people I would do business with. So like I would, you don't want to upset your boss essentially, right? So I lived like that for a really long time, and I was always concerned about what other people would think of me. And there was a point where I just wanted to be visible. So like my attempt to be visible in the early days was I would write something like a blog, right? And then I would publish it. And I was like, and it was something intimate or something personal. And I thought, okay, well, like that felt good. I just got it out. And then slowly you just learn to be yourself, and then being visible really allows you to be authentic, right? So then I know who's seen me online, who's looked at my profile, I guess, or because they start talking to me, like they relate to me. I attract what I am, right? So then those are the people I run into in person, right? So then conversations start a lot quicker, a lot faster. It's almost like you learn. I guess one of the examples I realized is I was chasing butterflies my whole life. And now I'm trying to build a garden that just attracts the right ones, the right butterflies to me, right? So then by being authentic, open, and honest, is that you're going to attract what you are. And the people that have the same values as me and those positive, kind people, those are the people I want to find, right? So that's what I want to attract. And just being open about it and sharing, experience sharing and things like that. It's kind of important, right?
I find that the people that I've met or even interviewed, so I did door-to-door sales for 6 years. I've probably met hundreds of thousands of people. And the people that felt most comfortable to be around and felt most in tune with themselves were always the ones that were most authentic. They weren't second-guessing everything that they said because they weren't, frankly, worried about what you thought of them. Like,
Correct,
you think about the old man that just says whatever's on his mind and everybody loves them, or that quirky friend that just kicks it up on the dance floor and doesn't care if anybody's watching. Yeah. And those are the easiest people to get along with. So I think your level of authenticity, that at least I got a good kick out of reading kind of your subsections on your LinkedIn experiences and just kind of your sidebars that you kind of put in there. And it made it a lot more relatable when I reached out to you. I was like, yeah, we could definitely have a conversation on this stuff. So the authenticity is, I think, something more people need to put more focus in. If you are constantly trying to appeal to everybody, then you're not being true to yourself.
Yeah. And I did that for a long time. So there's a point you just got to live, right? And be yourself.
Amazing.
Or try to be yourself.
I like that. What's a message you wish more young founders or even early stage entrepreneurs understood?
Yeah. Okay. So I've pivoted a few times.
Imagine you're talking to your sons, kind of thing.
Yeah. Just do it. Try it. Go for it. And yeah, it's going to be chaotic. It's going to be Wild West. Like, you can't start something, expect to be perfect or be like the person that is 30 years into what they're doing. And if you're chasing, and then don't be afraid to chase people too. Your competitors, like, I did all the time. I had people I aspired to be like, and then I surpassed them. It was a nice feeling where I just didn't even look back. I just kept going. So it was nice. It's like, just don't be afraid to do it and try it and do it for yourself, right? Nobody else.
So with that final statement that you said there about do it for yourself, did you ever make it known that you basically had a target on this competitor's back, or was that just something that you kept to yourself or to your org?
And to be fair, I just admired him so much. I wanted to be like that guy, and the only way you could do it is to compete.
Yeah, of course. I like that. What do you think people misunderstand about what it really takes to build something that lasts?
You just can't give up. It's great. It's always just, you're going to take on something. If it was that easy, everyone would do it, right? So if you're going to step into the ring and try to, like, say, start a business, or could be even like taking karate lessons, right? You want to get a black belt. It's like, eesh. Like, I've tried things like that, or learn an instrument. It takes a lot of determination, and you can't quit, right? So you have to really put yourself out there and try.
So when we were at Fuck Up Nights, I distinctly remember when you were going through kind of the story that you were sharing, and you kept looking to your family. So you're obviously a husband and a father of two. How has your family shaped your approach to risk ambition, and maybe even leadership?
Well, at the end of the day, I do it for my family first. That was always kind of like my motto, my value. It's like, so like all the chaos and all the things you have to go through in a day, and you got to jump in that arena called life or your career or profession or whatever you want to call it. But you did it to come home to something or to build this environment, like a family life. So I was always focused on that. I got actually a cousin, I'm not going to name names, but he says, yeah, you're perfect. You're so great. The only problem you have is you love your wife too much. So I was like, that's a little joke between us. But I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with that. I love my wife too much. And then but it makes, that's what I do it for, right? So I got a great family life. I can't really complain.
That's amazing. How important is legacy to you?
Yeah, my children are my legacy, so that's all that really matters. I don't care to leave an impression on the world or anything. I just care what my children remember about me, right?
It was powerful. That was really powerful. You mentioned your wife's support was instrumental in your journey. How has her presence allowed you to take leaps that you've taken?
Yeah, my wife is the human being that just accepts me for what I am, and the good, the bad, the times. Like, it was a roller coaster. So, I was like, she has a gift of just being like, she's so personable and so likable, and she knows how to diffuse a situation, and she doesn't get caught up with details. It's almost like, it's like nothing bothers her. But it does. She's just so good at just being there, supportive, going through those moments.
The reason why I asked that, I think through kind of the interviews that I've been through, the partnerships that people have with their significant others really allows, from the outside looking in, for a lot of these people to kind of put their best foot forward in the business world. I don't know if all of them would say that they could do it without that person.
No.
So,
no, any of my successful friends that have successful spouses, same thing. It's like, they're a power couple. I admire people like that. It's like they're a unit, and it's good. Like my wife and I, my kids are growing up. One's in university, the other one's right behind them, and they're independent and they're living their life. And now I get, my wife and I spend so much time together, like 24/7, right? So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like we're always in touch with each other. So,
what's something about your partnership that you wish more entrepreneurs could experience or prioritize?
Yeah, it's just that partnership, right? Mm-hmm. And that completely acceptance of one another, and then just being there for one another. I think that's. But I don't know. I have a lot of business owner friends and entrepreneurs. That's most of my network and generally they all have good relationships.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's nice to see, right?
Yeah, I guess the reason why I ask about that is it's with this hustle culture right now. It's really easy to get buried in the idea of success and the grind that is necessary to hit this perception of success, and forget the important things like family, relationships. And just through kind of what I've gathered on your social pages, you make a very conscious effort for your family, your friends to be ahead of your businesses. It seems like you really put a lot of effort into that, and I'm sure that if anything came up, you would put them first every time.
For sure. And, to be honest, like anybody, like I'm just human. I got caught up once, right? Mm-hmm. My priorities got shifted and twisted. You're working so hard, and everything's on the line a lot of the times, and sometimes you forget, what's important, right? And I feel like your values change every time you get older. So like I always look at 10 was it the most purest anyone is ever going to be. And then from 10 to 20, you're like, you change. And then from 20 to 30, it's another evolution of your values. And then to me, it was a conscious effort to go back to being my 10-year-old self and what's really important. So yeah, I'm not like, I do not want to, like I am definitely not a perfect human being. And I have my flaws, but there was a moment in where I actually realized that. And then I made an intentional decision to what was going to be important to me.
Do you mind if I ask what that point in time was?
Well, it's probably, the peak of my career. I guess the peak of my financial, like there was a golden period where I did really well, and a lot of transactions were going on, but a lot of stress and a lot of. It wasn't just me; it was a whole team of us, right? But there was a moment where I just realized that it was kind of like, I call it like my midlife, right? So it's the easiest way to, you hit this point in your life and you're like, what am I doing this all for? And why am I working so much? Why am I taking on so much? And it got to a point where you just like, for what? It's like at the end of the day. And then what was important to you at that point, that's where it kind of shifted for me. And then and it was a really tough time. It was like a kind of a moment where you were lost. You were like questioning yourself and questioning what was important to you. So that was like my midlife. That happened, between 2016 and 18, that range. That was kind of where I started questioning what I was doing. You got to remember, I started so young. So it was the hustle and was going on for like quite a long time at that point, right?
Was it you that came to this realization that you need to reassess, or was it somebody else that might have lit that flame?
Oh yeah, there was outside influences for sure, but it was something that, I don't know, we all have our bullshit that we want to believe, I guess it's a good way to say it, or our racket. Yeah. And then you start believing, that's really where you get twisted, when you start believing it, right? Yeah. And then when you realize that, okay, this front, or this like cover that you've put in front of you to hide your true intentions, that's when you realize, what the hell, I actually believe that. And it's just, you're just lying to yourself and you're lying to everyone around you. And that's really when I made a decision, like, okay, I'm not going to lie about that. I'm not like, that money will not be the most important thing in my life. Right. So, and then, and it took a long time for me. It wasn't just instant, but it's like something I battled with. Or, then it got to a point when you really look at it, like, this isn't a phrase that I'm coining, but life is empty and meaningless. And what's the purpose of being here? So then, kind of like, what's life about? I guess it gets a little deeper. But I got to a point where, I realized that. And I'm like, the only thing that's constant is us. Like, so making friends and relationships and being there for one another. And that is probably the most important thing that I realized. So I always want to make as many friends and help as many people as I can and be there for people. And so sometimes it's just talking to people or whatever it is, or they reach out if I can help in any way. I try. There
was a saying that an ex-partner said to me that has stuck with me ever since, and it was, life has a habit of teaching you the lessons until you're ready to learn them. And so I'm curious if there was maybe other milestones that you just blew right past, and then finally something came up and you're like, now it's time to change focus, or if that's maybe just something that...
No, it's like things were going really well, and like I was achieving the things I wanted to achieve. I just didn't feel like I had the relationships that I wanted to have, right? And then I so it was at the cost of my relationships, and I think that was when I woke up, right?
Mm-hmm. Fair. You love hosting and bringing people together. Why is creating a space for community so important to you?
Well, I'm going to give my friend Rob that credit, right? Okay. So he's very similar.
That's your first
Rob
cheerleader?
Yeah, he's a close friend. The first person that actually acknowledged what I was doing and mentored me and advised me in my younger days. We would get together all the time. We don't see each other every day, but the minute we're in the room together, we tend to share things, and we keep talking. He basically made me realize that like who's in my inner circle, and I was always trying to find a perfect life. I was chasing that, and I shared that with him once over. I go, heck, I'm just trying to create this perfect life, and he goes, "Yeah, I already tried that." There's no such thing as a perfect life. The closest you're ever going to get is having groups of different friends. So if you want to be successful, you need to have successful friends. If you want to be fit and healthy, you need to have fit and healthy friends. If you want to be spiritual, you need to have spiritual friends. If you want to have a great relationship with your spouse, you need great friends that have great relationships. So he's like, that was like it just threw me back. It just like hit me hard. And then we just started talking about who's your top 5, top 10. And, that question's always been thrown at you or at me in the past, but like that discussion hit me hard, and he really got my attention. So, after we hung out and we parted ways and he went back home, I actually wrote it down. I wrote who my top 5 are. And I was like, okay. But I didn't stop. I wanted who's my top 10? So I went all the way to 100, my top 100 people, and I wrote it like with a pen on a piece of paper, and I had this massive list of all the people I felt they were my top 100 people, and they were just variety of people that were in my life. And something completely dawned to me. It was like I looked at this list, and I was like, I don't see any of these people. They're busy. They're living their lives. They're working. I'm doing the same. So I tried to reach out to all 100 of them, and it was hard. It was like you phone them, you coordinate something. Let's get together. You schedule something. That's a week. Multiply that by 100. It would take me 2 years to get in front of everybody. And like I said, it was a mix of people, right? So there were some work colleagues, some people I work with, some clients, some family. So it was a big mix of people. So I just started both professionally and personally, I would host events, right? So it was the easiest way to get everyone together. Like I could invite 100 people, no problem. Hey, we're going to do this. And I get to see all my top 100 at least once a year, right? Or come for this little picnic. Sometimes it doesn't even cost money. It's just showing up, right? So it was always nice to just do those things and be the one that initiates it. And then everyone knows they're going to get an invite. They know I'm going to send. Yeah, right. So it's hopefully they do. But it's every time I do get people together, it's fun. It's a good time to see everyone, and and you keep doing it. I guess sometimes timing doesn't work for everybody, but then there's another party next year or another event 6 months later, or you're doing something. So it's always nice to connect people, right?
I appreciate that. That was an idea that I had about 3 years ago. I didn't come to the same conclusion that it would take me 2 years to see all my friends, but I'm very much a person that has different friends for different things. So I have dance friends, I have martial arts friends, I have business friends, I have my high school friends, I got my university friends, travel friends, fitness friends.
You got a perfect life, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We're working towards it. But I decided I'm going to do a huge Stampede party every single year. So I host and cater, and I invite all these people. And some of my friends were like, why would you do that? Are these people going to get along? I was like, if they get along with me, there's probably an extension of them that could get along with other people in this room. And so I've now hosted 4 parties, and it's great every year. People look forward to it.
Nice.
I will say I help a little bit by adding a little bit of alcohol punch that gets everybody a little bit more comfortable. But I look forward to it every year. And I'm sure there's an aspect of you too that that build up, there's a level of excitement. And then there's kind of this period afterwards where everybody's talking about how great this gathering was, and I can't wait till next year. And I rode that high for probably about 2 weeks after Stampede.
Yeah, nice.
So I like it. What role have your friendships played in sustaining you through the highs and lows of your businesses?
Yeah, it's just the support in different ways. You know, everyone supports you in a different way. Sometimes it's a personal, sometimes it's just like, sometimes people are advising you what they think you should do. And it's everyone's perspective, collectively, and it helps you make a decision. So that's kind of what I like about my friendships, right? So I want to hear from somebody. I want to tell someone this so I can get their perspective, or essentially, yeah.
What's something in business? Everybody's talking about AI and machine learning and all this kind of stuff. What's something that you're excited to see take place in modern business right now? What's something that you're really pumped on?
I don't know if I'm pumped about it, but when I do see someone do it, it pumps me up. Yeah, AI. I've seen .com. I've seen all this. I've seen change, and I'm at an age now where I see another generation, right, then behind me. And one thing I noticed, people forget how to talk and communicate. Like, or you call someone and it's awkward, like, oh, they have to answer the phone. So I just feel like the ones that understand, AI ain't going to build relationships. AI ain't going to communicate. Like, it'll help. It's a tool, just like Adobe was a tool to help you design stuff. Before Adobe, it was all illustrations, right? So it was like things evolve, but it'll never replace. I feel like if I could share anything, and that would be the one thing I think in the future. I think relationships, we'll have more time for them. Maybe things are more productive, but it's never going to replace that. So like the people that understand that and the people that are willing to step in and be their authentic, visible self, I guess, are the ones that are going to thrive. So
I take that one personally. I really appreciate that, because part of the reason why this podcast happened was because I got asked to go speak at the STEM Innovation Academy. So there's like 800 high school students there. And well, the reason why we came up with Not So Average as a podcast was literally I asked, why do you want me? And the person asking that's on the board of the school said, well, we don't want a CEO. We don't want a founder or an Olympian. We want somebody that's more, I was like, average. And they're like, she's like, you're not so average. And then like, that's what happened. But I digress. The point of my discussion was to the students was basically become curious about all these interests or all these trends that are going out there, but put a focus on soft skills like communication and relationships and how you can basically converse with others. Because regardless of AI or what other tools come out, the core of everything you do is for people. And let's not lose track of that. And that's also something that we've really advocated for. So my business is built off of door-to-door. We have about 260 people nationwide. And one of the largest solar providers right now in Alberta because of door-to-door. And one of the things that we talk about is like learning these soft skills of how to talk to people, handle rejection. And it's amazing to see like maybe I'm thinking of somebody right now, somebody that came in, she was very timid, very shy, and she probably knocked a couple thousand doors, and now she storms into the office and like she's got personality, and to see that progression is amazing. But now you see kind of, it's so much easier to hide behind your phone and just be like, I saw this person, divert my eyes, I can just message them on the phone. When I see somebody that I haven't seen in like a couple of weeks or maybe in a couple of years, I'll go up and just straight line to that person because I just want to talk to people now. Yeah, the authenticity is huge.
Yeah, and like I was a shy kid, so running a business forced me to I've always felt fear. I just had to keep going. Eventually, the feeling of fear it's just normal. Like you just lost that feeling, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you just have to, it's always going to be there especially at the beginning of something new, but you just have to keep going and then eventually you condition yourself to, right? So yeah, it's great advice.
Your point about it just, that feeling's still there. You just kind of push through it. I still have that every single time I bring on a new guest. Like the 10 minutes before I come and grab you downstairs, for example, you're just thinking of like, oh my gosh, how's this going to go? But I've now done it enough. I legitimately think I've talked to hundreds of thousands of people now through door to door, and that feeling's never changed. But I know that if you push past that barrier, it's worth it. And that's what more people need to do, is get past the discomfort. And then they'll find like it's actually not that bad. We're all awkward.
Yeah.
We're all like a little timid and don't want to share too much.
Yeah. That's what I realized too. We're all the same.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we all have our insecurities and our concerns and beliefs and values. They're just a little different, right?
We're basically getting pretty close to wrapping up here.
Sure.
So you said you appreciate alone time and use it to reconnect with yourself. What do you learn in those quiet moments?
It's more just like, I guess the quiet moments are like my version of happiness, because it's peace, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like, there's no chaos. There's no, you can just enjoy that moment and enjoy peace. That's essentially what it is.
What's a question that you've never been asked that you wish you could answer?
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm pretty open book, so there's like, it's not the question. I think I'm not being afraid to approach. You know, there's this person I'm thinking of right now, just recently just reached out, and she reached out and shared some, like a story she wrote on LinkedIn. And I'm like, I look at my feed and I open it and I read it. I'm like, and I respond. I'm like, hey, that's a good story. And she was so surprised I responded. And I'm just like, so I think it's just not the question as much as just okay being approached, right? Mm-hmm. So like, reach out and don't be afraid to connect with not just me, but anybody. It's just, and some people will respond, I guess, or maybe some others won't. But I thought it was kind of interesting, and it's not like I have a relationship, but it's just like there's a connection there, and I didn't ignore it. I just responded, and then she started asking me questions about, okay, well, how does this work? So it's just kind of like, okay, this is how we do it, right? Like, and I don't know if I have the perfect answers, but I do have. I've learned this through my experience at EO, entrepreneur organization. It's a peer group, and my whole time there, I just learned to share experiences. So experience share. So it was like there's a whole bunch of peers just sharing. They're not giving anyone advice. They're just relating to what you're sharing with them, and by sharing an experience. So that's kind of like what I've learned to do, right? So
you've done a really good job at it, because when you had such a queue at Fuck Up Nights after you shared your story, and that's such a great environment too, like a plug to Fuck Up Nights, like by giving the platform for people to be able to share their mess ups, it allows more people to share those things that maybe they bottled up for a little while, or they didn't have the space to do that. And you notice that in like your actual relationships. Often if you lead with something, other people will find it more relatable, and then they'll share their side. And versus if I just asked you all the questions all the time, it'd be one-sided conversation.
Totally. Or so it's like, I don't have all the answers, but I have some experience I can share. I guess that's it, right?
Definitely. You definitely do. When you think about what you want your kids to remember about you, not just as a business owner, but as a dad, what comes to mind? The only thing I wanted, I think I've done that. It's raising them to be independent, right? I guess that's every parent's. But I was okay just letting them do their thing, and then and letting them make a decision. So I think hopefully they look back and they realize that. That's good. If you could sit down with the 20-year-old version of Daniel, the one that just started out, full of ambition, but maybe unsure, what would you say to him now?
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, yeah. So sometimes I look back at that or think about that moment, and I was so naive and fearless. It wasn't even an option. It was a survival. So I don't know. I don't know if I'd do it all over again. If I could go back and tell him, I don't know. That's a good question. Sometimes, if I had the chance, I'd probably Now, you know what? If I went back, yeah, so I guess if I went back, I would tell myself to stick to your passion, the things that you wanted. That's part of the reason I've tried so many things. It's like you do certain things for money and to survive and make a living, but part of me always wanted to do the things I've always wanted to do and all these passionate things. And I should have just did it from the beginning.
I think younger you would have appreciated that, but then that would have changed who you are right now. That would be reciting that message back to him. So
maybe, yeah.
Yeah. I definitely appreciate you taking the time. This was quite a Friday night delight to actually have this kind of conversation. Maybe I might have to make this into a series of like Scotch and stories. But for those that made it all the way to the end, we really appreciate it. We love all the support. If it wasn't for the messages that I get from everybody, I don't think we'd be as far along with this. So thank you so much. Daniel, where can people find you? Where can they show support?
You could look me up. Actually, you just Google my name. You'll find me.
Easy. So I will put that into the show notes. But once again, guys, you're much appreciated. Let's get after it. That's the podcast.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate that.